It's quiet here, brother. Too quiet for my tastes. Something feels wrong.
The last 2 years feel like they've been absolutely jam-packed with Total War games, and yet 2013 was actually the last time we saw a mainline historical entry in the series with Total War Rome 2. Yeah, there was the Attila's standalone spin-off, then there's the 2 fantasy Total War Warhammer games, and the smaller scale of Thrones of Britannia which released earlier this year. But for fans of the series, a major new historical game has been a long time coming, it feels. Total War Three Kingdoms is finally poised to answer that desire early in next year. While it's based on history, Three Kingdoms is also heavily inspired by and derives its name in part from the historical novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms. This largely factual account of history amplifies the heroism and the deeds of the various warlords and the factions at play throughout the Civil War. Thus, Three Kingdoms features both a classic mode, which will be familiar to any Total War player, and a romance mode that turns your generals and your heroes into these formidable characters on the battlefield, much like how heroes in Total War Warhammer could battle entire regiments on their own. They all have their special abilities and perks based off the character type that they are. Sun Ren, for example, is a vanguard that thrives when leading the line, charging into battle, with a powerful area of effect attack to throw nearby enemies to the ground, almost like a screen-clearing Dynasty Warriors attack, and there's limited use bow and arrow strike that is ideal for targeting other heroes. Meanwhile, her brother Sun Xuan is a commander that steadies the line, able to make them more resistant to enemy archers or charges. You can also challenge enemy heroes to duel on the battlefield, and there's more than a hint of wushu and cinema to these fights. They'll first charge at each other on horseback to try and get the initial advantage, knocking each other off horse, before then engaging on foot once one has been knocked down. If this is taking part right in the middle of your clashing army lines, then the throngs of soldiers will peel apart to form a circle around the duel. Again, it's such a very cinematic thing. Zoom in and you can see the fight ebb and flow between them, stringing together choreographed moves to depict the damage that is being inflicted. You do need to be a little bit pragmatic about this. You can't just go charging straight at the enemy general right from the off. It's best to challenge them when you've already weakened them, whether by targeting fire from your rank and file soldiers or using your special abilities from your characters. Speaking of which, you can micromanage some of the character abilities in the middle of battle as well. So Sun Ren and her ground stomp attack that was really useful for knocking an opponent down and getting the upper hand once more. If you come out on top or force them to back down, it will diminish the enemy morale, and that is something that can be key in deciding who's going to win and lose this battle. The new hero dynamics are something that adds layers to the combat for you to micromanage and consider, but even if you play in classic mode, there's more of the in-depth control for each unit that recent games haven't featured quite as heavily as they once did. Some infantry can be hybrid melee and ranged, spearmen can set up with a layered formation or set into squares that can repel flanking cavalry, and it just feels like there's a lot of nuance here that maybe hasn't been there quite as much in the last half decade. As always, using the terrain to your advantage is key, from fighting on the high ground to hiding units in the tree line. The nighttime battle that we got to play, the ambush of Sun Ren, provided a lovely visual spectacle as fire arrows flew through the night sky and set fire to the tree line, which is a first for the series. And there's other nice touches such as having the iconic Chinese floating lanterns hovering in the sky. When facing an ambush scenario, a new option now presents itself to you, of trying to reach an exit point instead of trying to survive and beat the waves of enemies that are trying to ensnare you. It will present you with a defeat, yes, but it could let you escape with more of your forces and save those all-important hero characters. If you do stand and fight, then battling on hard difficulty will provide you with a stern test of your commanding skills, and it was only through being forewarned of this hidden army that was approaching from behind, thanks to a previous attempt that I had not been so successful in, that I managed to hold out for a Pyrrhic victory. Taking out the enemy generals to shatter the enemy morale was also pretty damn useful in this situation. Whether you stand and fight or you flee like a coward, you will want to save your heroes, as they hold an even greater significance in the campaign. Instead of controlling a whole faction, you're playing as a warlord and their family, effectively. Characters can change allegiance, you can pledge fealty to different lords, and this offers Creative Assembly their biggest opportunity to overhaul the diplomacy in the series. However, it's not really going to be about diplomacy per se, but more the relationships between the characters. One key trick is being able to turn one of your generals into a spy, then trying to convince other factions to let them join them and let them rise and command an army, but having them always remain loyal to you and feeding you information. It's something that you can play for both the short-term and long-term gain. It's this very mechanic that provides a thematic backdrop for the nighttime battle in this Gamescom demo, which will be playable for the public at the show if you're going. And this also ties in with how the new day-night cycle on the campaign map works. Quite how this actually plays out will be interesting to see, but the way that Creative Assembly described it to us, it means that you will no longer have the option to reach a battle or a siege and simply click to say that you want to wait for it to be fought at nighttime. You need to actually wait through the campaign and pick your moment to attack. So, will Total War 3 Kingdoms be worth the wait? Well, it does feel that way in how Creative Assembly have been evolving their game series over the last few years, and this could be a culmination of sorts of all of those efforts. With the romance mode, battles and duels, it's now clearer where the character stories and quests have been leading to since Total War Warhammer, but there's still always the classic mode for the purists. Either way, Creative Assembly have picked another fascinating time period that will surely draw a lot of people in and perhaps even get a lot of people invested in Chinese culture and learning about their history. Thanks as ever for checking out our video, and hopefully you've enjoyed it, so please do like, subscribe and share if you have. You can also head over to thesixthaxis.com, where we've got a wide-ranging interview with 3 of the design and creative leads of the game, and so hopefully we will see you there or some other time soon. Goodbye!
You are pitiful!
I will crush you for this insult! The Phoenix rises!
The enemy general falls! Ha!
Die if you cannot surrender! The time has come!